Hey everybody, welcome back to Boomer and Junior. My name's Boomer.
And I'm Junior.
Happy Sunday, folks. We're recording a little bit earlier today, so if we look a little sleepy, we do apologize. I have a cup of coffee here that's going to try and keep me awake. But, Zachy, how was the weekend, pal? What'd you get up to?
Well, I would not like to talk about my Saturday night plans when I was watching Michigan State. However, other than that, it was
We'll
good.
Get into it.
Yeah, other than that, it was good. Got into some surfing and stuff. Met up with some friends. It was a good time. Yeah. How about you, Boomer?
What did I get up to? I had, I got lunch with my family yesterday here in Dallas. We're celebrating a little family thing, and I got to do like a little me day yesterday where I just kind of was like a slob on my couch. It was great. Watch football, watch Purdue.
College football Saturdays are a great time to be a slob on your couch.
I know, right? Watch Purdue beat Purdue. Purdue beat themselves like Purdue beat themselves, you know, as long as we've known them. But yeah, man, having said that, and instead of boring people with our lives, let's get into the weekly recap. Zach, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, for sure. So starting off was the UCLA Bruins going into Bloomington to take on the number 2 Hoosiers. This game had a lot of intrigue going into it. Obviously, UCLA, one of the hottest teams in football over the last few weeks after they fired their head coach and had the new interim play caller, Jerry Neuheisel. Nico seemed like he was finally unlocked and working some magic. And yeah, that changed on like the first play, I think, or the first series on offense for UCLA as they threw a pick six, and that set the tone for the rest of the game. UCLA cruising to a 56-6 win, thrashing over UCLA. Wow, the Linsanity run is over, unfortunately for UCLA. It's a tough scene. One quick shout out here. I didn't know this. I'm guessing a lot of other people didn't too. Fernando Mendoza, IU starting quarterback, transfer from Cal. He had a couple touchdowns in this game, including a rushing touchdown. What I did not know, his brother, I believe Alberto Fernando, also got a rushing touchdown in this game. Also an IU player. Had no idea.
The whole thing, right, with these two is that they're both brothers. They're both from the same, like, obviously the same family, but, like, they're a couple years, I think a year or two apart. But they're both quarterbacks on the team. They've both got Mendoza on the back of their jerseys. I made a TikTok about this game because it was so fresh yesterday. And I just remember watching. This is so funny. I had a lot of games going on at the same time when this was happening. So I look up, and I got IU, UCLA in my top left. I see Purdue, Rutgers in the bottom right. And then 2 seconds later, I look up, and it's already 6-0. It is the first drive of the game, and it's 6-0 Indiana. I looked away for 3 seconds maybe. And yeah, like, it was nuts. And yeah, I was like, yeah, Nico throws a pick on the second drive of the game. Yeah, like you talked about it, man. UCLA take a dump, like, Indiana taking a dump on UCLA, mind you. All right, I'm gonna move on to my first game of the week, the recap this week. Number 3, Texas A&M Aggies going into Death Valley to play number 20 LSU. LSU looking to bounce back against from losing against Ole Miss, but man, Aggies take down the Tigers. That Aggie defense was on lockdown mode last night. Just watching them play their corners, that entire secondary was insane last night. And also just their D-line just not giving Nussmeier any time in the pocket to play. I was talking to Zach about this before the game, or before we started recording this, but it's the first time I've ever seen Death Valley stands that empty before. I think third quarter, like when the Aggies started to pull away, it really started to like clear out. And we talked about this a little bit last week after they lost to Ole Miss, but we were like, is the seat for Brian Kelly getting warm? Is it getting hot? Yeah, I think it's fair to say that seat's officially warm now, and it might just be borderline, like getting on fire. Like, I saw a TikTok this morning that talked about how Brian Kelly's turned the LSU locker room really, really, really toxic, and just the football program as a whole. LSU historically has been a program that welcomes back former players, former people that were involved in the program. But apparently Brian Kelly doesn't do any of that. Like, he does not allow former players to come back and visit, and a lot of them and like the boosters aren't for it as well. And so there's gonna be a lot of questions that department's gonna have to ask. They're 5-3 on the year. Zach, dare I say they're out of the playoffs at this point, man? I think they might be.
I mean, was this their second or third loss? I mean, I think
This is their third loss.
Yeah, they're done. And I think that officially cashes your first bold take of the year, which was that LSU wasn't going to make the playoffs after they beat Clemson week 1. You were like, yeah, I don't know about this LSU squad.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Wow. Boomer's bold take. Boomer out here just.
I low-key forgot about that. That's so funny. I low-key forgot about that. That's so funny.
That's crazy. Yeah, I haven't been tracking the other ones as well, but that one in particular really stuck with me. And yeah,
I remember this. I remember this.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's
pretty
so
crazy.
Good.
Yeah, something to note in this game: LSU was up 18-14 at the half. So like I was looking, I was like, oh wow, because I was thinking Brian Kelly was looking, probably on his way out. I was like, oh, like Brian Kelly career game, like chance to save his job here, and then 35-7 they were outscored in the second half. Just absolutely embarrassed at home. Mike Elko, Marcel Reed, and the company and the Aggies. Wow, yeah, huge win, especially in the second half.
Reed's looking good, man. Reed's looking real good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Moving on to another SEC matchup, we had number 4 Alabama going to play at South Carolina. Alabama coming away late here with the victory, 29-22. They did lead the majority of this game. However, South Carolina took a lead late in the third quarter and held that lead and extended it in the fourth quarter to a 22-14 lead. Then Alabama came back, got a touchdown 2-point conversion to tie it. And then with under 2 minutes left, South Carolina had the ball back, I believe, in their own territory. Lenora Sellers, preseason Heisman favorite, fumbles the ball, gives it away to Alabama in SC territory. Alabama scores a touchdown, wins the game. Just absolutely tragic for this Gamecock fan base. Really unfortunate. And a quick shout out to Alabama player Jeremy Bernard. Been playing great all year and really kind of overshadowing the maybe expected wide receiver 1 of Ryan Williams. But in this game, 23 rush yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 54 receiving yards, and another touchdown through the air. And I believe those were the last 2 scores, so the game-tying and game-winning score. Big game for him and the Crimson Tide.
Shout out Bernard. Yeah, no, I saw that Alabama was trailing, and I was like, oh, upset alert. And then I was like, classic fashion, they're gonna pull out. But all right. My next game we're gonna cover here is number 22 Texas. Winning 45-38 against Mississippi State. This was an overtime thriller. Texas was down, I would say, pretty decently going into the fourth quarter. I was texting Zach on the side. I was like, oh boy, this is going to be big. I think 2 things happened that really saved Texas. Their defense came up big when they needed it. Had a huge kickback return. Arch exited in the fourth quarter, but the backup, I don't remember, he's a senior that just transferred in, saved the Longhorns. I wrote this in my notes, by an inch. They had a catch in the end zone that first the refs called out of bounds, but then they brought it back in. That was the go-ahead touchdown in overtime. And like I touched on this briefly, but I might not have. Arch exits the game in the fourth quarter due to an injury. And here's the thing, right? Like, he wasn't really generating a ton of motion even before he left. This podcast has definitely turned into like us critiquing Arch Manning a little bit. But he's not doing himself any favors. We should understand he's a rookie quarterback. He's still young. But yeah, honestly, Sark's got some questions to ask. I mean, this one, like, Texas was looking like they were going to fall out of the rankings coming into the fourth quarter in this game. So, big shout out to Longhorns for coming out with the dub.
Yeah. Nick, I'm going to comment on this real quick. I will say, I think it's fair maybe that we need to be a little more patient with Arch. Just, anybody with the expectations coming into college that he had, just impossible to live up to those.
So fair.
This is his first year as a full-time starter. This is his 3rd year in the program, though, and he got a lot of playing time last year.
He did indeed.
There is reasons to be concerned about him and his future and stuff. Like he's got time to figure it out still, but like
I think his ceiling has dropped a lot this year. And so Sark's gonna have some questions to ask.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, he did redshirt his first year, I believe, so he's got time left.
He had 2 years behind Quinn. He had 2 full years behind Quinn,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so
But he's got eligibility left. He can still improve and get it figured out.
Mhm.
Joe Burrow went like 8-4 or 9-3 or whatever in his first
So
year
fair.
at LSU, and then went on to be 16-0, Heisman #1 draft pick.
Throw like 60 something, 67 touchdowns that year. It was nuts.
Right. Yeah, NCAA records
God.
up the wazoo. Yeah.
Shut.
So
Can't
there's still time for Arch, but there's fair concerns too about him at this point. And yeah, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but yeah, Mississippi State was up 38-31. Special teams play was a punt return, I believe, touchdown to tie the game in regulation, and then you had the backup quarterback with the score to win it in overtime. So
Yeah.
the team kind of won in spite of Arch, but yeah. Anyways,
That's what I'm saying.
on him.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah, that's enough bash on him. Time for me to bash on something much more close to my heart, and that is with the number 25 Michigan rolling into Spartan Stadium and beating the Michigan State 31-20. I want to try to keep my emotions in check for this one a bit. Paul Bunyan Trophy staying in Ann Arbor. It was a terrible day for QB play both ways. The best quarterback by far was the final drive for Michigan State, led by their backup quarterback in garbage time, which I think he threw for like 60 yards and a touchdown. But again, it was garbage time, didn't really matter too much. Other than that, though, both starters were 50% or less completion percentage and no passing touchdowns. So pretty abysmal day there. But that's expected. That rivalry is usually won by the team that runs the ball better. So I do think the game looked a little closer than the final score. I'm not going to get into officiating reasons for that and stuff, but it was a fairly tight game throughout. I think Michigan was on their toes for the most part until they had a breakaway touchdown score with like 3 minutes left in the game. Jonathan Smith, questionable coaching decisions again. Had a chance to make it a one-score game with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Could have kicked like a low 40-yard field goal and instead chose to go for it on 4th and 3. Don't really know what you're doing there. You're trying to do a game impersonation, but we don't have the line for that or the skill players for that. So, yeah, I don't know.
I saw that one play and I was thinking like they're down 24-13. What's the logic behind that? I was like, and they didn't get it. And I was like, well, shit. Now you're just in a deeper hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you had a chance to keep the hope alive and keep the emotions going and stuff, like building momentum, and kind of killed it there. But I have a feeling after a 3-0 start to the season, now going 0-5 since, I have a feeling that this season will mark the end for the Jonathan Smith era. I'm neutral towards it. I don't care if they keep him or not. If they give him one more year, fair enough, whatever. However, the fan base is like completely turned against him. They will, however, wait till December 1st. I would have to imagine, because his buyout reduces by like $6 million at that point, which goodness knows we need that money for NIL for players and stuff. So, or signing on whatever next coach coming in. I would say likely some news on December 1st, but we'll see what happens. I do want to shout out Joe Rossi, though, defensive coordinator for Michigan State, on the sidelines, a lot of passion, a lot of energy. Peacock camera crew kept putting the camera on him. He was great. MSU defense, they did give up 31 points, but 7 of those officiating error. 3 of them were given up after Michigan State turned the ball over inside of field goal range. And then there was, again, a breakaway touchdown with 3 minutes left after the team kind of, you got to fight till the end, but there wasn't much to fight for at that point after it was a 2-score game already at that point. So I thought they had a good defensive performance. And lastly, my final point for this, for those who haven't seen, I made a little wager on our social media, so TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. Make sure you check those out. But I said that I thought Michigan State was going to win this game, and if they didn't, I would run a mile for each point that they lost by. In the final 10 seconds, Michigan State scored a touchdown to make this an 11-point game instead of 18. So shout out to Alessio Milivojevic and Michael Masunis for cutting my run down from 18 miles to 11 miles. Okay, I'm done.
That was freaking. He texted me this last night, and I was like dying. That was so funny. Zach's still getting his cardio in, so there's that. We're gonna move on to our next game of the week. Number 8 Ole Miss going into Norman to take on the Sooners. Coming out with the dub, 34-26. I think the big thing with this game is Zach, I don't know if you saw it or not, but Lane Kiffin got chirping at an OU player after the game. I've never personally seen a head coach do that. I think it coincidentally, so apparently this guy was chirping at Kiffin all game long about, whatever on the offense and whatnot. And he just so happened to be by Kiffin after the game.
He looked like he was chirping him there. It looked like
he was trying.
He was like coming up to him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was trying to make some. I think he was trying to, make save the peace or whatever, just be a good sport. But no, Kiffin wasn't happy with that. Mateer tried to throw up a Hail Mary at the end there, just couldn't connect, man. I think Ole Miss, continuing to dominate in this game. I think the big thing going forward to talk about for the Sooners is their schedule is not forgiving. They mentioned that people mentioned this after their loss to Texas a few weeks ago, but their next 4 games, I don't know the order, but it's Tennessee, they're playing Mizzou, they're playing LSU on the road, or maybe that might be home, but and they've got one more. They're playing Alabama. They've got a lot of unforgiving games going forward. I think they just dropped to 6-2, if I'm not wrong. So it's they can't. If they're lucky, they can't afford to lose another game if they even want to still shoot for the playoffs, which obviously who doesn't want to, right? And so, Venerables and Mateer have their work cut out for them, definitely from the offensive standpoint. Ole Miss take the dub on the road, man. Big game for Kiffin and team.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss has looked great this year. I think we need to take a second to just give them their flowers for that. They've looked like a phenomenal squad. I think they're one of the teams that has a chance of. I think at this point they're about as close to a lock for the playoff as you can get, and beyond that, I think they're one of the teams that has a shot of winning the national championship. So we'll see what goes down, but they're looking
okay.
Quite
Junior's
good.
bold take.
Kiffin for getting them going. Yeah.
Okay, Junior's bold take. All right.
Sticking in SEC territory, number 15 Mizzou at number 10 Vanderbilt. This was the school of the SEC castaways, or whatever I guess you could say, or the game of the SEC castaways. College game day was here, which was great. 2 schools that don't really get a ton of media attention necessarily. So this is really great to see that when they both are doing really well, they're getting highlighted pretty well. And Vanderbilt came away with the home win here, kind of close there towards the end. Partway through the game, Mizzou quarterback Bo Perula was carted off with an ankle injury, and that led to backup quarterback freshman Matt Zollers coming in, and he played pretty well instead of Bo Perula. 14 of 23, 138 yards and a touchdown through the air, as well as Mizzou had the ball at the end of the game and had a barely failed Hail Mary attempt as time expired. Close. So they were quite close to punching it in there and sending it to overtime, or maybe getting a 2-pointer and putting it over in regulation. But Mizzou looked good and played well.
I think with this game, that last play specifically, what sucked is I think they called it an incomplete pass, but I saw him. Even if he did complete it, he was going to be a yard short.
Yeah.
So
they had just there.
They had 2 things going against them on that one play, but man, like you said, Zollers played out well. I think the big thing I want to talk about with him is he played really well under pressure. You get dropped into a Vandy team away on the road, really high pressure game, and your starting quarterback goes out. He came in, he was calm under pressure, made those passes, man. Looked really good. Yeah, but tough to see Perbola go out. Tough to see him go out. All right, man. Next game, we got number 11 BYU against a team that I've loved so far in the season, but unfortunately they're letting me down. Iowa State on the road. BYU wins 41-27. Iowa State did have the lead at one point. They led 24-10. Rocco Beck did, in fact, he was cooking with that team, but I think interceptions really were their Achilles heel this week. Beck had 3 interceptions. I think one got returned, might have been for a touchdown. I don't know, but big thing coming out of this game is Bachmeier still pushing BYU to 8-0. 300 yards, 307 yards passing, 2 tutties, and he had a rush touchdown as well. I I think that BYU team is legit, man. They're looking like, I think, front runners in the Big 12, honestly, right now. They're undefeated. Granted, the season's not over, but like I'm trying to think of other teams in the Big 12 that could stop them at this point. I can't think of anybody else.
The only one.
That's fair. And obviously they're the one slip-up loss against ASU a couple weeks ago, but good point on that. Cougars win this 41-27, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I cannot get over that 24-10 lead for Iowa State. I just cannot get over that they didn't get outscored. Wow.
31 points,
to 3. I mean, geez, that's
Jesus, bro.
Yeah.
That's a momentum shift.
So BYU clearly not backing down, never giving up. Good job for the Cougars program there. Big 12 looking pretty solid. Texas Tech with the one loss. You got Cincinnati, I think, is a one-loss ranked team too.
Yeah, ASU's trying to start stuff up.
2-3 bids. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then for our, final full game recap, I guess I got one quick shout out after this too. But we had number 18 USF playing at Memphis, falling to the Tigers, 34-31 victory for Memphis. The USF dream is probably dead, unfortunately, now. After the Tigers completed a 17-0 comeback in the fourth quarter to come back from down 31-17. This was just a complete shutdown, on the USF offense. The fact that they weren't able to score at all in the fourth quarter to, keep Memphis off, really tragic for the Bulls program. But good for the Tigers keeping them alive. This American Conference race is really heating up.
I saw this thing on ESPN yesterday about the American Conference in terms of percentages to make it into the playoffs, and they're all pretty evenly stacked. They're all off by 2%, 2 or 3%, and it's neck and neck, right? And obviously we've been big about USF on this podcast. We've been rooting for them, but it looks like Memphis is the front runner right now, man. I saw this crazy comeback, nuts, insane stuff. Go Memphis.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then just one final little shout out I wanted to give. I guess this is kind of a negative note to maybe end on, but we did have two Power 4 teams get kind of knocked out of the playoff race as number 23 Illinois fell at Washington and number 24 lost at home to Houston. Both teams were, clinging on, had some interesting wins along the way, but acquiring the third loss of the year and, with still more games to play, just looking like they're likely out of the race. So wanted to sneak that in there as well. Anyways, more positive note now. We'll go ahead and move on to our next segment. We got our Boomer's Bold Take of the week. So, Boomer, go ahead and hit us up. What's your bold take?
All right, happy to. I already kind of touched on this just a little bit in our weekly recap, but my bold take of the week is I think Mizzou is still in the action for making the playoffs from the SEC. Here's why I think that, right? I talked about their QB situation. Obviously, you lose Pabula to injury. It looks like he's not coming back based on what they've been talking about this morning. But Matt Zollers, like I said, looked really, really calm under pressure. The key thing that's going to happen for them moving from now till the end of the season is, can he plug into that offense as well as Pabula did? Pabula had that entire offense moving. He connected so well with his wide receivers. Zollers had moments like that in this game. Having said that, it's about how can this true freshman be consistent? We're talking about an 18-year-old, right? He's taking the reins over for a team that was number 15 in the country coming into this weekend, and against a pretty strong SEC this year. You've got some new players like Vandy in the picture, but you still got the big guys. You still got Bama. You got Georgia still trying to make a statement, right? And so, I think my bold take for this week, granted, now Pabula is out, I think my bold take is that Mizzou is still in the action for playoff, man. We'll see. We'll see how it checks out.
They've got a shot if Zollers can keep playing well and maybe Pabula comes back. He got carted off, so it looks maybe a little more intense. We'll see there.
I got faith. Yeah. I got faith.
It's not over till it's over.
I got faith. Yeah. Let's kick this over real quick to our next segment. I personally love this segment because it's always funny. Junior's Jumbo Stat of the Week. Zachy, what's the number for this week?
All right, I do want to, before I get into the number, I want to get into the number that I wanted to do, but I was just having issues finding, and I didn't have the time to just dig through myself and try to like look through every box score from the last how many ever decades. Quick shout out to Utah for just foot all the way down on the pedal to the floor. 43-0 score at halftime against Colorado. Unranked Utah.
Dude.
I was really wanting to know when the last time an unranked FBS team scored 43 points or even outscored an opponent by 43 points in the first half of a game, like against a conference opponent, like another Power 4 opponent. Because that seems like something that has to have been like a long, like taking a long time to do. It doesn't seem like an often occurrence. Maybe it is, and you just don't see it that often. Like I just didn't see it. Not sure, but anyways, real stat of the week: 608 is the number. That is the number of passing yards that North Texas quarterback Drew Mestamaker, I believe I said that right, threw in the 54-20 rout of Charlotte earlier this week.
It's
wow,
nuts.
Huge performance for him. Tacked on 4 touchdowns with that as well. Big game for him. That is both a North Texas school record as well as an American Conference record for passing yards in a single game. So, yeah, we've talked about them a little bit on this podcast. That North Texas offense has been looking great.
Yeah.
But taking it to a whole other level, setting both school and conference records. Shout out to them and the North Texas program. North Texas, like we talked about with Memphis USF earlier, North Texas helping keep things spicy at the top of the American Conference.
You know what that gives me vibes of? It gives me vibes of that famous game between Mahomes and Baker.
Yeah, it's exactly where you're going with that.
Dude, 608 passing yards is insane, right? Like you were mentioning this to me earlier before we record this, like that's like we have to go back and forth at least 6 times to hit that like as a quarterback, on offense. Like that's insane.
Yeah. More than 6 lengths of the field, yeah.
Get out of town. Get out of town. All right, man. You want to kick us off next?
Yeah, sure. So we'll move on to our playoff impact games of the week now. So yeah, Nick, you want to get into our first matchup here?
Yeah, we're looking into our next week. I think we're officially into week 10 of games, and we don't really have a ton of like playoff impact games of the week. But having said that, there were a couple that we kind of looked at. We're like, okay, these are pretty cool games. We got currently as of right now, we don't have the new AP rankings, but number 13 Oklahoma going into number 17 Tennessee. Got the Sooners playing the Volunteers this week, man. I touched on this. I love Oklahoma. I love Coach Venables. I've sort of shifted down from I love John Mateer to I like John Mateer. Granted, the kid's gone through a lot this year, but they're going up against a really tough Tennessee team who just won this weekend, by the way. And so I think Oklahoma's got their work cut out for them. This is going to shake up a couple things in the SEC. It's going to be sort of those middle teams, I think, in the SEC in terms of who goes up and where. I think, obviously this isn't blitz, but I think Tennessee's going to come out with the winner on this one, man. I think the Sooners are going to go up against a team that just is quite frankly firing on all fronts, and Oklahoma's starting. You can tell the plague of the season and the fatigue of the season is really starting to get up to them, and so yeah, I think the Vols take this one, dude.
Yeah, I agree. Oklahoma, really hot start to the year, but kind of been sputtering a bit since. And unfortunately, it is due to things like injuries with Mateer and things like that. So it's pretty unfortunate, but I agree. I think the Vols are probably more likely to take that game, especially in Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on then to a Big 12 matchup, maybe a little less conventional for playoff impact. However, I thought it was interesting to talk about for the potential bubble impacts.
Yeah.
Got number 21 Cincinnati playing at Utah. Now, this is going to be a really, really, really fun game to watch. This is going to be a high-scoring affair. Cincinnati got Brendan Sorsby under center, just lighting up every team they go against. It seems like offensively, Utah, like we talked about earlier, 43 points, and just in the first half against Colorado, high-octane offense there too. I think this will be a really interesting and fun one to watch. Cincinnati, only one loss on the year. They keep winning. Obviously the Big 12 automatic bid is on the table for them. Utah,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of a harder path to get there, but I think if they keep winning games, may also have a chance at sneaking in. We'll see how that goes, though.
Yeah, man. Like you said, offensive powerhouse with Utah, dude. They've got the firepower to do it. It's a matter of can they keep it, can they make up for it on defense. Should be a good one to watch. Our last impact game of the week is shifting back into the SEC. We got number 10 Vandy going into Austin to play number 22 Texas. I think this is going to be an interesting one because you got Vandy on the road, so you don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, Pavia is still cooking. You're going to have that UT crowd roaring. Is Arch going to be healthy to play? Is going to be a big question they're going to be asking early in the week. Yeah, this is going to shake things like miraculously. I think miraculously, if Texas somehow pulls one out here against Vandy, that's going to be such a big blow to Vanderbilt's playoff hopes. Yeah, no, I don't know where I'm going with this one, man. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, Texas is going to have to win out to make the playoff most likely. Meanwhile, Vanderbilt, flicking the best the program has in
years,
decades, almost a century. So they're looking really, really good right now. Let's see how they do in Austin.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Having said that, we're going to shift over into our last segment of the week, and that's Boomer Junior Blitz. I'm kicking things off with the game I just talked about. It's number 10 Vandy at number 22 Texas. I said I don't know where I'm going with this, and I remembered. Oh wait, I do know where I'm going with this, and that's I'm going with the away team, the visiting team. I'm going with Vandy plus 2.5 to win this game. I think the only reason why they're not favored by more, well, technically they're the underdogs, but I think the only reason they're not that they are the underdogs is because they're visiting, quite frankly, and also just biased towards Texas. But we're not going to talk about that. Yeah, I think Pavia is going to come in with just a lot of just added, like, I think he's going to come in with the vengeance to play and win and obviously prove the haters wrong. I'm calling Vandy to cover plus 2.5. I think they probably win out by 10 or more points, dog. Real talk.
Yeah, this is just such a tough one. I could see Texas winning this in a low-scoring rock fight. I could also see Vandy winning by 17 points. It's a crazy one. It's a little weird to predict because it's in Austin. I think on a neutral site or in Nashville, Vanderbilt for sure wins this game. But
for sure,
Austin, uncertainty with Arch injury, just so wacky. Yeah.
So true, dude. So true.
Moving on to our next game, we got UNC playing at Syracuse. This is a kind of a sickos game to be even talking about. We got Syracuse minus 1.5, and that's what I'm taking. Syracuse lost their starting quarterback at the beginning of the season with a season-ending injury.
Steve bro.
They've been playing with the backup since. They did get beat pretty bad against Georgia Tech this past weekend. However, Chapel Bill has been one of the craziest failed experience in recent memory in college football. And so, frankly, I just think this is funny. So, let's go Orange. Let's get that win over the Tar Heels, taking Syracuse minus 1.5.
So good. Shout out to Steve Angeli, former Notre Dame quarterback who was a starting quarterback at Syracuse. He was playing so well before he got hurt. Tough look. My next pick for Blitz this week is the Purdue at number 25 Michigan game. Now, obviously, you guys have known this. I love my Boilers. But having said that, I am pissed off. The spread this week is 20.5, and I'm actually rooting against them. I want Michigan to take a fat dump on them. I want them to win by at least 4 scores. And I need this team to wake up and realize that Ryan Brown is not in fact the guy for the job. It's been proven week in, week out that he just doesn't have what it takes, and we just still start the guy. I don't know why our coaches in the last couple of years haven't benched quarterbacks when they should have. I don't know why we've not done that, but having said that, I think Michigan and the Blue are just going to come in, or they're going to go into this game and just absolutely take a dump on Purdue. Going Michigan minus 20.5.
Nick, how do you think Braden Smith could throw a football? I mean, he's great on the court orchestrating the offense.
Dude,
basketball.
We've seen that guy. We've seen that guy throw lobs across court, right? I bet he could make a full court shot. I bet, you know what? Here's what it is. Ryan Brown lives with Fletcher Lawyer. Those two are roommates. Fletcher Lawyer, if you've seen my TikTok from this past week, was horrible in Purdue's opening exhibition game. And you know what? It just it's one big household of guys that just clearly can't make plays. Anyway, enough about me and Purdue. I'm going Michigan minus 20 and a half.
I didn't know they were roommates. That's crazy.
Yeah, dog. Damn.
Wow. All right, yeah. Well, moving on from the Purdue misery that's likely to come this upcoming weekend, we got South Carolina at Ole Miss for the next game. Don't get me wrong, I think Ole Miss is a great squad. They've been playing well this year. I think I said earlier, I think they're one of the teams that has a chance to win the national championship this year. Yeah. However, I'm going to take South Carolina plus 13.5 in this game. I just feel like that's a big line. Lenora Sellers still playing well for the Gamecocks overall. Kept it close with Alabama this past weekend. I think that they're going to hang in there and cover. I think Ole Miss is going to win this game still, but I like the Gamecocks to cover.
Interesting. Okay, because if it was me, I would probably gone Ole Miss on that spread. But I like where you're going with that. I like it. Interesting. My last pick for Blitz this week is one that I was talking to Zach about, and it's about a team that going into the season versus where they are now has completely fallen off, and just seeing this team's name now, I don't associate with any kind of they don't strike fear into their opponents. It's the Penn State at number 1 Ohio State game in Columbus this year. The line's at 20.5. Obviously, Penn State just not looking like they were anywhere where anyone thought they'd be. I actually think, having said that they might cover the 20.5 line. I think it's going to be close. I think it might be an 18 or a 21 point game here, but I think I don't know. I think Ohio State's obviously still going to win. I think OSU's still going to win this, but I think Penn State might have just enough firepower to keep this at bay. They had a bye week this week, so hopefully they could rest up some guys. But yeah, sad to see what's happened to Penn State, man.
That's funny. You said that you were thinking the opposite of what I was picking for the last game. I would say for this one, I'd be picking the opposite. Penn State's been kind of a thorn in Ohio State's side. Ohio State's got a really good record against them, obviously, but Penn State just keeps it really close randomly still, though. I think Ohio State's going to use this opportunity to flex their muscles and run it up on Penn State. I don't think they're going to be disrespectfully running it up, but I think they're just going to play like the number 1 team in the country against an unranked team who lost their starting quarterback with an interim head coach.
Dude. Yeah. Good call.
So that's just the way I see it, but we'll see. And then for our final game of Boomer Junior Blitz for this week, we got number 21 or current number 21, Cincinnati at Utah. Now Utah been able to score with anybody, put up some big numbers and some big wins this year. However, Cincinnati plus 7.5, Brendan Sorsby at quarterback. Cincinnati a pretty high octane offense themselves. I like them to cover. I feel like Cincinnati should win this game. I feel like they need to win this game to keep their playoff hopes really strong. I almost want to say outright here, but I think at least with that 7.5, that half is a big number right there. I think that Cincinnati will be covering this spread.
Yeah, man, I like the pick. I think I think Utah still might win this one out, but I think it might be close. We'll see, man. Yeah.
Well, that'll conclude our episode for the week. So thanks, everyone, for joining and listening. As always, make sure you rate, review, like, subscribe, follow, all that jazz on YouTube and Spotify, wherever you're listening. As always, we're happy to take questions and feedback on our email, officialboomerandjunior@gmail.com. And make sure you follow us on social media. We had a lot of stuff popping off this weekend. Lots of funny content. Like I said, we had me placing my wager of, I'll run a mile for each point Michigan State loses by. And Nick talking about the IU team and Purdue basketball and all that jazz. So make sure you check that out. We got it on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. Make sure you check all of that out. So thanks for tuning in, everyone.
See you guys next week. Bye-bye.